Karma's a-comin', karma's a-comin', karma's a-comin' for you and me. Karma's a-comin', karma's a-comin', karma's a-comin' for us and we. Well, hello again. It's Friday the 13th, in October no less. I had to make another video. I wanted to talk on a few things, some thoughts I was having, and particular challenges with, I guess, some narcissistic energies. This is a theme that I've spoken about, in recent posts a fair amount. But karma's a-comin'. Karma's a-comin' for you, and karma's coming for me. Some good karma, some bad karma. Many lessons for all of us to learn. I'm still learning mine. Some days are better, some days are worse. But, yeah, I'm smiling. Today was not too bad. Not too bad for a Friday the 13th. I always had a sense that Friday the 13th, through my life, especially when I was younger, was an unlucky day. And I know that culturally it's considered that, and 13 is an unlucky number. As you might notice, on some elevators, that floor is omitted. But it's really just power, just like karma. Karma's a-comin'. Even sort of, I don't know, neutral karma, whatever that means. But yeah, Friday the 13th, it's a powerful day. I'm changing my perspective on many things. Maybe on the number 13, and maybe on Friday the 13th. Could be a good day. Today wasn't a bad day. I got a fair amount done. And had some good smiles and some laughs. I'm grateful. Grateful for another day to do what I must. So, speaking about ritual on a powerful day, I've spoken about ritual a little bit recently, I guess. Magic, bibbidi-bobbidi-boo. There's all sorts of ritual. You could be a witch or a warlock, a sorcerer. You could just be a person that does ritual with many different forms of intention that are wrapped up in it or that drive it. Being a witch, if you identify as that, is not necessarily a bad thing, but if you're doing dark things to harm others or take from others or hold others back, it's not a good idea. Whatever title you hold within your mind, the role you play when you do rituals to affect the world and affect others, just be careful. That dark stuff is, it can cause you to pay a great price. I do ritual of different kinds. A lot of it is just about connecting with spirit, connecting with nature, connecting with myself and the future, to a certain degree connecting with the Most High, even Jesus Christ, which is one of the ascended masters that I particularly connect with, and I think a lot of people connect with. I'm not a Christian. I do have that Celtic cross. It has its own meaning for me, but I have great respect for these kinds of religions of the book. By the way, you don't have to be a Christian to appreciate Jesus and what he represented. Christ consciousness is something that we all have access to if we walk the right path and live the right way. And that might be slightly different for everybody, but that kind of elevated consciousness, Christ consciousness, is what I am working with, working towards, and trying to help all of you find your path to. Religion as a very defined subset of spiritual practice and experience, and all spiritual endeavors, it's music to me. It's just different genres of music. I think we maybe need to focus less on the division, focus less on what camp we're in or what book we read, and try to come together a little more. Not necessarily all through the light. There are many people out there that consider themselves light workers. I can work with the light. I have worked with the light many times and helped others with that. But I also can move within the shadow, which is what I had to do when I was helping my parents on their journey through the underworld. I can work with both light and dark, but when working with dark, you must be very careful. Like I've said before, some of the best work in the darkness is to work with your own shadow, or help others find and work with their shadow. I use sage in my house on a regular basis to do smoke rituals, to clear negative energy, to balance the vibe, air things out, open all the windows and doors. Sometimes it's when I'm cleaning and vacuuming. At least it was in the past. Recently, I do it pretty much every day, sometimes more than once, particularly because of the negative presence of this person that's living in my rental apartment and refuses to both pay rent or leave. But I'll speak more about that later. But yes, I do different forms of ritual. A lot of it is to do with centering, clearing, and balancing myself. And more recently, defense against any nasty bibbidi-bobbidi-boo that might be coming my way. But also, there is a kind of form of, in some cases it's unintentional, and in some cases it is intentional, but people don't know the power of both their words and their malevolent thoughts towards others. I try to be careful about this. But yeah, there are different things that you can do, different visualizations, particular rituals, even just the smoke rituals to clear the house, functions to a certain degree as a way to, depending on what you say and how you do it and the intention that you use, it can be a way to send back negative works against you, but also just negative intentions. The bad vibes that the person that's being very difficult in the basement brings to the home. The bad vibes that I get sometimes from people in the neighborhood that don't seem to want to interact with me, that I've barely spoken to. I don't know why. There seems to be a reputation, and it's not fair. Men get treated this way, and in many cases, it's underhanded, behind-the-scenes stuff, so they don't even have a chance to defend themselves, to face their accusers, and all these fair concepts that, unfortunately, a lot of people have done away with in our modern culture. Outrage and victimhood has become the norm. And it's really sad, but whatever you're going through, I hope that you don't wallow in your victimhood. I hope you are able to take your trauma, and sometimes people need to be held to account, absolutely. Sometimes you need to defend yourself. I mean, even physically, if someone's pushing you around, you might have to knock them down, right? This has to happen at times. And that can be metaphorical, that can be verbal. Stand up for yourself. But there's a lot of people that will resort to victimizing themselves and then engaging in sneaky, underhanded manipulations and attacks behind the scenes. Person's reputation, person's ability to earn money or connect with others and form new relationships. This is very potent magic these days, very potent. Social media is this incredible amplifier for all of that kind of word and concept magic. So speaking of rituals, one that I've incorporated recently to try to continue the process of disconnecting from this woman that I dated for a long time, who I broke it off with a little over a couple months ago. It was clear that there was different levels of manipulation that were going on with her, and I do hope to get some clarity, but you never know with these things. When you go and start walking your path and trying to improve yourself, trying to do more good, and not necessarily always be high vibes and always walk in the light, but to be able to walk with truth, to turn towards the light more often. And most importantly, to turn away from wickedness. There are many paths that lead away from wickedness. Choose one. In time, your life will get better. And even if you have to clear people out of your life that don't serve you or you realize haven't been keeping up their end of the bargain in the relationship, in time you will find other people that do appreciate you, that are able to reciprocate what you offer, that are able to stand in the light that you might shine upon the world. So, cord cutting rituals. This is something that I got tipped off to from a tarot reader. This is some nice black yarn that I picked up from a local arts and crafts shop. I guess the black is supposed to represent negative attachment to you from others, other people, maybe past situations, maybe even past concepts, I don't know, maybe even past identities that you held, that you thought about yourself, maybe that you believed that others put upon you. But cord cutting, there are many ways you can do it, I'm sure. I was given one particular procedure, and I found it incredibly potent. I'm not going to go into it now. I'm going to try to be careful about sharing these kinds of tools, these rituals, openly on these videos online. It's something I would want to do in a more personal and limited setting. So cord cutting. This is some nice, soft, cozy yarn, but it is dark. And I will be cutting a few more cords. I've done a few of these rituals already. I'll be cutting a few more cords today on this powerful Friday the 13th in October. I've also done some burning, part of letting go, another form of ritual. Burning old love notes and other things that were connected to the woman that I was dating for a long time. She's doing her thing, but I'm going to continue to move forward. I'm going to continue to shed these old attachments, these old identities that do not serve me and my higher good anymore. So part of that was burning mementos, old little pieces of paper, old things that reminded me of her. We would write little notes to each other sometimes, draw little pictures. You know, one particular, I guess it was a red flag really, on that same way of possibly trying to affect someone else that I noticed, you know, a few days before I broke it off with her. She was going to go and visit some family with her mom out of town. And I was sitting with her down in the kitchen, and she was doodling like she did sometimes. But this really caught my eye and rung my red flag bell. One of the smaller intuitive hints that led me towards ending the relationship soon after that. But what she was doing was she had written my name in short. There's an abbreviation that I use of my name. And she had written that sort of close to the middle of a piece of paper on a pad, the kind of pad we would write love notes on. There may have been some love notes in that pad. But she wrote my name in the middle of the pad, and she wrote her name like 20 or 30 times. She was writing it very frantically, all around. I was surrounded, and I was watching her do it, and she was very intent as she was doing it. And I felt claustrophobic as I was watching her. Was that unintentional? Was that some sort of little scribble ritual that she was doing? Who knows? But it definitely made me a little uncomfortable and seemed odd. But it is what it is. At some point I might get to speak to her about all these things. We'll see. But today, I will be cutting some more cords. And I'm looking forward to it. I mean, the first time I did it, after I completed the cord cutting and some of the things that you say and a few of the other things that you do as part of it, I couldn't believe it. I immediately, I felt exhausted. Like I just wanted to fall to the floor and go to sleep. But it's like I had been carrying something heavy for a long time and I didn't know it. And finally, I'd put it down and realized how exhausted I was. It was surprising. It was surprising, but I'm looking forward to continuing that process on this powerful Friday the 13th. You know, it's really sad the way that that men can get manipulated, taken advantage of, their kindness and generosity, patience. How a man can not be doing anything wrong, not calling people names, not threatening people physically, but merely raising his voice and get treated like they're bad or even a monster. I had a certain degree of that with the woman that I was dating. Now, she was a crier and I was a yeller, right? And when I raised my voice or yelled, which is a difference, it was often when I was provoked in some way. It was often when I wasn't being listened to or respected. And it's not always the right way to react, but it's a way that a lot of men defend themselves when they're being negatively affected in their emotions. Especially in your own home, where you should feel free to do what you need to do. That's your space, your home. You know, it happens sometimes. Unfortunately, you know, other people who get outraged and engage in chronic victimhood will hear the loud voice of a man and think that he is doing something wrong, even if the other person is provoking him, even if the other person is taking advantage of him, even if there's a good reason to be upset and stand up for yourself, and that's expressed with a loud voice and a tone of displeasure. I have been trying to get this tenant in the basement to answer very fair questions that any adult should be able to answer on a regular basis if they're engaged in that kind of business relationship of, you know, landlord and tenant. But she won't respond. And because of the system in Ontario, there's very little I can do in this moment. And there's very little expectation that I can have that I will actually be fairly paid what I'm owed. And I just keep getting this response of victimhood. Most recently, when I tried to ask her, she accused me of abusing my girlfriend, and I choose my words very carefully. Even if I'm yelling, I choose my words carefully. I don't want to be insulting. I don't want to disparage people. If that comes out every once in a while, most of the time, I will try to address that and apologize. But my voice gets loud. And I've been shamed many times because I have a powerful voice. My full speaking voice, sometimes people think it's yelling, and I'm just speaking from my belly and my chest. And it triggers some people. Often people that have not taken responsibility for their trauma and tried to work on it. That's what's happened with this tenant. She won't answer questions about her responsibilities to me and cries victimhood and trauma every time I try to get her to be a responsible adult. It's really unfortunate and it's really sad. And I suppose maybe that cord that is connected to her spiritually, metaphorically, is one of the things that I'm going to have to cut in this ritual today. maybe more than once. I don't know how long it's going to be until I can legally evict her, but it's really sad. It's really sad. An adult who hasn't faced up to their financial responsibilities like this for so long, for so many months, should not feel entitled to play the victim. Especially when I've never yelled at her. I've never said anything negative to her. I've only been extremely patient with one lie after another about, oh, I'm going to get a job, oh, I'm going to pay rent, I'll get some money together, this and that, over and over and over for months and months since halfway through last year. And I bought it for a little while, all the lies. And so I'm a vulnerable woman, I don't know what to do. That placated me for a little while, and I didn't start the process of getting the paperwork together to evict her. Now I've completed this first stage of that, and we'll see. It's going to take a few more months, but now it's victimhood. Oh, I won't answer questions with you. And she said that she doesn't want to be alone with me in a room, except I have gone to speak to her quite a number of times with just her and me, and I've always spoken to her in a measured tone. I've never yelled at her. I've never raised my voice to her. I've only been extremely measured, polite, and patient with her. But she heard me yell and has not worked on her trauma and is now punishing me because I'm a loud man. And this is a culturally accepted thing. To hate men because they're loud or perceived as too aggressive, even if they have a very good reason to assert themselves because something is not fair, because they're being taken advantage of. It's not okay. It's not okay. It's something that I've had to deal with for a long time. Given that I have a powerful voice, when I yell, you'll know that I'm yelling. I did yell with this woman that I dated a number of times during the really hard parts of those years where my folks were sick and I was helping them. There was definitely yelling. Not all the time. It was often after being provoked, but it happened. It happened. And it often came from a place of vulnerability. I think deep down, when men yell, sometimes it comes from a place of vulnerability, even if they don't know themselves, but they feel like someone has hurt them, is doing something that's unfair, and that intensity rises. Again, being nasty, calling people names, disparaging them, putting them down, and especially getting physical, that's not okay. But merely having a loud voice and male genitals should not be a crime. And it shouldn't be culturally accepted to punish men, especially if they have a good reason to assert themselves and stand up for themselves and trying to get something done. So we'll see. We'll see if this tenant keeps playing victim and interference. And once she gets evicted, I really, really, really hope that she gets some help, some therapy, something to deal with that trauma. And all of you out there, whether you're a man or a woman, but particularly the women out there, I hope that you're able to work through that pain, to transform it into strength, to understand that just because a man is across from you and seems intense and is raising their voice, it doesn't mean that you're in danger, and it doesn't mean that you have a right to mistreat them or dismiss them. What have you done? What is your position in the conflict? Maybe there's something that you need to look at. Maybe you're playing the victim, which doesn't help anybody. It really doesn't help anybody. I'm working on my trauma. It's a process, but I'm working on it. I'm transforming it. And I feel pretty confident about actually keeping a reasonably level head and maybe not even raising my voice at all when I see this woman that I was dating at some point. We'll see what she has to say. We'll see if she can be honest. We'll see if she can be fair about what happened in the relationship. But who knows? Maybe she's got more trauma to work out. We all store it up, but we also stack that karma. We also stack that karma. So don't rest in your victimhood and think that you're right merely because your feelings are inflamed as you mistreat others, because you easily could be the one that's actually done something wrong. We have to be able to look at ourselves. In future videos, speaking of loud voices, I'm going to be sharing some of these voice vibrational exercises that I use to clear my throat, to open up the jaw where I had the wisdom tooth operation and it seems like some nerve and other tissue is messed up. Some scars in there didn't align properly, but these voice vibrational exercises that I've put together, that I've developed, have been invaluable, really invaluable. It's a little bit like throat singing. It's a little bit like maybe some like singing and vocal like warm-up exercises you might know. And I sometimes use it to be able to clear things out so that I can do a bit of singing. But really, most of the time, and the reason that they were developed was because I was in pain, because I couldn't breathe properly, because I couldn't swallow properly, because I couldn't speak properly. And they've been incredible. I'm looking forward to sharing them with you, showing you a bit more of that powerful voice. So I think that's going to be it for now. I'm going to head on and do my cord cutting ritual. I'm looking forward to severing and shedding off another layer of the past, continuing to move onward and upward. I wish all of you both luck and power in your process of walking your path and figuring out how to be a better version of yourself, the you that is just waiting for you in this next moment or tomorrow. And on this auspicious Friday the 13th, may you all find what you're looking for